Hey everybody, it's Ian at Las Vegas Scooters and Lifts, and today on my lift I've got something different. It's going to be a project. It's a Solax Mobie. Here it is. First time I've seen one of these. It's a Mobie. Made by Solax. They've actually discontinued this now. This featured two batteries, but only one powered the scooter, the bottom one. This was a spare. Kind of expensive to run to give away two batteries, but I guess you got the bigger drive range, but I'm not sure what the price was on these compared to the Transformer. But this one has a problem. It's got a bad transaxle. As you can see, it's leaking a bit there. It's got a bit of grease come out of it, all grease around here, and it doesn't move very well. So I'm thinking maybe the motor's given up. You can see in there, there's a bit of yellow on the motor back there. That's usually the windings melting, and it seeps out. It's pretty hard to move. There's a bit of play in the wheel, as you can see this one's moving. It's covering gunk and stuff, so it's going to be a project for me. I'm just going to mess around with it, and I've actually got a battery for it that came with the scooter. The battery's okay, no charger though. Got the key. This doesn't light up either, so I'm going to have to look at see what's wrong with that. But this is a manual folding scooter, not like the Solax, which was the automatic folding, and that would be in this section here. But let's see what I can do with it, see if I can bring it back to life. Not the prettiest of scooters, but yeah. So I've got a motor and transaxle here that I'm going to donate just to see if I can get it to fit and wire up. And this one has a brake on it. This one doesn't feature a brake, not that I can see. It has a brake, but it's automatic brake, but no release handle. And this one does have a release handle, so it'll be an upgraded version if it is. But yeah, a customer bought this and wondered why it wasn't moving, and yeah, they paid $100 for this, and I said I'll read it its last rights. But it's going to be a project. I probably don't think I'll sell it. I'll just want to mess around with it, just see how it works, and just in case I do get one in for repair, at least I'll be a bit ahead of the game. It looks very similar. There's a concertina thing there with a bit like the old deck chairs that you used to get. It had a ratchet system either side to lock it in place. And there's your wiring front to rear there, all the way up there, and it's got your release handle there to fold it when it's in its position like this. It releases everything to fold. Okay, so I'm going to start stripping it down. I'll start working on that transaxle, get that out, see what's involved with doing that. I'm sure the wheels come off first, and then get to remove the transaxle. So let's see what happens. Okay, so the first thing I want to do in removing the transaxle, remove the wheels and tyres. If they're like the Solax Transformer, these are going to be the caps, the wheel caps are going to be glued in. It should be easy enough to get out with a screwdriver if you're careful. Okay. Use, I think that's the right size. Something with a bit of decent purchase on it. Of course, you're going to have to undo the controller, which is located on this plate here, to remove the wiring, because it will be wired direct into the controller like any other scooter. Just going to loosen up all four corners of the transaxle. Just that one's loose anyway. Plate that holds the controller in place. You can get access to the controller wiring. And the wheels, because it's an earlier model, the Allen bolts. That's the 316. Let's see. It's a little bit sloppy at 316. That's 5mm. That's a better fit. So 5mm socket rather than the 316 for the wheel bolt. Something in there to stop that from spinning. Hopefully it shouldn't be too tight. Yeah, definitely use a 5mm. And if there's any damage to your Allen piece, I wouldn't recommend trying to get a new one or a decent one. Yeah. Because they do strip easy. They changed it to bolt nuts, like nut head bolts in later versions. But the early versions, and obviously this one, is an Allen head, 5mm Allen. So it's just basically a bolt washer and a spring washer. We can remove a lot of grease. Don't lose your keyway. What's in the wheel? Looks like somebody's put grease on it. So the symptoms with this one is it won't go faster than a crawl. And looking at this grease here, it's sticky. It feels different to this kind of grease that's on the axles, and it's also yellow, so that would suggest to me that it's come from the motor. The windings are overheating, so it's probably the transaxle's locked up. Yeah, really stiff. That's what's causing all the problem. So your little plug there, that's your brake wire. There's your, of course everything's marked on the controller. Your motor drive there, and that's your battery connection. So the blue ones on this one are your motor. You can write on the controller yourself if you want to remember which side goes where. The red is number 2, black is number 1. So it goes that way round. Red number 2, black number 1, if you do want to do this. I'm not suggesting you should do this, but if you do want to unplug, if your scooter makes a beeping noise when it reverses, there's the speaker for it there. And you would just unplug that and just tie it back. Unplug it there, but we don't recommend doing that. It's a safety feature, so I wouldn't recommend it. We don't do that. If somebody asks us, we can't disable safety features. Alright, so now I've undone the brake wire and the main drive wire. So that's the rest of it is all battery and controller and charging. Okay, so now I can get to finish undoing these. To remove the transaxle. I've actually done this one before on a transformer, removed a transaxle to repair a brake, if you haven't seen that video. To repair the wiring to the brake, because she broke the support across the back of the chair, which was making the scooter flex, and it cut through the brake wire. Loose. So when you come to put this back in, remember the dome piece goes on this side, obviously downwards, and your brackets go on that way. Pretty self-evident, but just if you need a reference, that's the way it goes. Just remove your support bracket. Right, just be careful of the rubber bush, try not to damage that. There's this rubber there that cushions the transaxle to the frame. Okay, hopefully may have to undo this to get it out. Just one side, undo this support bar. It's just looks like a 13mm and an Allen on the 5mm Allen. So you can swing that out of the way to get the transaxle out. And that swings that out of the way. Make it easier to remove, hopefully. I feel like I'm caught up on something. Oh, I see. They've the wires that zip tied to the frame. Just to hold them out of the way. Well, after eventually finding the snips, my camera decided the microphone wasn't going to work. But anyway, got the motor and transaxle out. I'll just spin the camera around so I can show you what's going on. Now normally where the motor joins the transaxle, if the transaxle's getting old, worn or misused, then it'll put strain on the motor and then thus through to the batteries too. Same goes for the brake. If the brake's getting worn or sticks on, that will cause the motor to work hard, transaxle to work harder, batteries to work harder. But this transaxle is very stiff, so it may be even locked up inside. I'm not going to investigate, but just checking the wiring, just making sure there's no cuts in it. And I'm going to compare it to the transaxle I've got. Now you can see that's got the red handle on it. That's the brake release handle. The other one doesn't have it. I don't know if it's to save money, but yeah, same size. I think this was out of a Drive Scout, something like that. Very similar, if not identical, motor transaxle brake, except you got a brake handle on it. I think you can also find them in some golden XLs, the smaller ones, or the light, or LT. They have the smaller motor transaxle. They use the same brand, but the connections are all the same, just slightly different. But like I'm showing you, this one doesn't have a brake handle on it, where this one does. So at least you can freewheel this one. But size-wise, they're identical. You can see the yellow on the shaft just above the brake. My hand's in the way. But yeah, you can see that. That's where the motor's overheating, and it's like I'm not sure what they call it. It holds the windings in place. It starts to melt, and it goes yellow. And you can always tell that your transaxle's working too hard. So that one's garbage. Nothing savable. Maybe the brake, but there's no brake handle, so I'm not going to use it for anything. So just do my usual, stand it on a wheel, just to keep it stable. Just so I can inspect this, because I haven't looked at it. I just dug it out from the back, and it has this shaft cover. Unlike the Pride that has a dedicated bearing at the end, this has a shaft cover with bearings in it, and it's held on with a split ring, and that just slides off. And I'm just checking the seal where it comes from the main gear of the transaxle. Just make sure there's nothing leaking out there. Going to the main shaft, and that's the shaft cover with the bearings at the end. Just make sure those bearings are not missing or broken or dried up. It turns freely, the other one's turning freely, so. But one thing I'm going to have to do is check the orientation of the brake for when it goes back inside in the frame, because you don't want the brake facing the wrong way. They're pretty easy to do. So usually held in with 4 Allen bolts to the motor, and it shouldn't be overly tight, but always put thread lock on these just to secure them in place, because you don't want your brake wobbling loose from going over bumpy ground or anything like that. So I always put a bit of Loctite on them. They do it at the factory. When they come from the factory, they put Loctite on there. So they can be a bit stiff to to break loose, but don't over tighten them. So usually I release all three and leave one in just for a locating pin, but loose, not too tight, just so I can get the brake on and off. But remove three of them. It's a little fiddly job. You've got to be careful with the wire, but the brake should lift off, and then you can rotate it round whichever way you want. It's just a guess. So it takes a bit of finagling to get the. It's like a hexagonal drive plate that goes into the brake. You just got to get it wiggled right in place, and then you can locate your brake. There's like different notches all the way around, so you can locate a brake in any position you like. Well, not any position, but set positions, so you can rotate the brake and the brake handle to accommodate the unit you're fitting it to. So this is my first attempt, and the astute ones about you can see, you can see the dome piece, and I said that goes on the left-hand side facing the bottom. So the brake handle is actually facing inwards into the scooter, which is no good. It wants to go the other side, but I'll realise that. This is just a test fit. You lose your bearings when it's on the bench, but I'll soon figure it out that I've got it the wrong way around. I should have tied that controller up out of the way to make things easy for myself, but hey, I never do. As you can see, I'm trying to fit it, the dome piece on the left and the brake handles at the wrong place. But at least I didn't, I caught it all early. I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about. The brake handle is facing down and forward, which you would never get to the brake, so it needs to face this way, which is easy to do. Just take it back off, put it on the bench, loosen the screw off, turn it round, check again. Yep, so just rotate the handle so it's facing the other way. I usually only put a couple of screws or bolts in there just to hold it in place so it doesn't fall off while I'm doing this sort of thing. And that way, just flip it around. I don't want it facing too far down that it will catch on the floor, but you want it far enough down that you can get your hands underneath to release the brake. Just throw a couple of bolts back in there so you can do another test fit. And this time it should be right. So, yep, it's facing the right way, oriented the right way, and enough room for the handle to move up and down. I'm just making sure everything fits okay, it lines up okay. I don't see any problems. Swing back over here. And then I can reassemble the brake back to the motor properly. So now we know that the brake's oriented right. Let's test the brake to make sure the brake works. Because I haven't tested it, but you set your voltmeter to ohm reading and then attach your two testers to either wires of the brake. One wire goes to the micro switch, one wire goes to the brake, and the other part of the micro switch goes to the brake itself, so it tells the brake on and off. So make sure your brake's in the on position, lock position, and you should get that reading there, 49 point something to around about 53, 54. I've seen it a little bit higher, but if it's like 9.047, that you've got a faulty brake too, or an open reading like that. But yeah, just check your brake handle, turn it on and off while you've got those connected, and it should read 49 when it's in the lock position and open circuit when it's in the closed or freewheel position. Alright, so while the motor's out of the frame, I can get into some high-speed cleaning. Let's get this frame cleaned up, and then I can put the transaxle back in the scooter. Okay, so with the frame underneath all cleaned up, makes it easier when the transaxle's not in there to get in there. And reattach the U-brackets to each end of the transaxle. I'm just fastening it back in. Now, here's one thing for you. If you do own one of these scooters or a transformer of any version, please do a check on your transaxle brackets, the ones that I'm just installing now, that are like U-shaped brackets that hold the transaxle to the frame. I had a lady in a couple of weeks ago and she snapped one of hers. And if there's excessive movement on either end of the transaxle, where you see it moving, you may have a snapped support bracket. So always check that, just to keep you safe. You don't want your transaxle breaking on you. Just preventative maintenance. Just check over your scooter. Just make sure that the motor and transaxle doesn't flex too much. If it flexes a lot, turn the scooter over and look if you can, or get somebody to look and check that you haven't got a broken bracket. I did see this on this lady's scooter. It came in for a different reason, but as I do go over the scooters, I checked and saw that she'd actually broken one of her brackets, and it was on that side I'm pointing to now. So yeah, just check, just make sure, just to keep you safe. Onto some more high-speed cleaning. Let's get the rear tyres done, and then fit them back on the transaxle. Just make sure they fit. I don't see it being a problem. Just get in there, get them all cleaned up, and then put them back on the scooter. Okay, so the tyres, wheels are back on the scooter. Everything fits okay. This I'm going to point to now is your reverse beep. You can turn it on and off on these Mobies, but you can't on the transformer. You have to unplug them. Anyway, plus you've also got your charge port at the rear there. But yeah, everything good. So our next project is going to be trying to find out what's wrong with this battery voltmeter. It's just showing one red. Battery's okay. I put it in a different scooter, but that'll be part two. It's fixing that, and then I can carry on with cleaning it up. But that's my next project. Hit it, Ian. Might work. Well, I'm back at it again. Managed to clean my room up a little bit. So, got a couple of things in, projects in while I'm doing this one. You know, this project. I've left it and left it and left it, and it's got covered in dust and crud. So, but I've got this one in. It's a Traveller 3-wheel. It's got a stutter, and I've just picked up this trade-in. It's a Go-Go Sport that just needs batteries, so that's an easy fix. Just give that a good service, change the batteries out, and then get that one done. So, but let's get back to this and give you a recap on what's going on with this. So I've replaced the battery, put a dead battery in the front because that's not used. It's just like a floor platform, but put a dead battery in there. I'm not going to sort of, I may sell it, I may not, I'll see what happens. But yeah, I've done the underside and sorted out the transaxle. If you remember from the last video, I changed out the transaxle with a drive transaxle. It's now got a brake handle on it, so I've done that, changed that. Wheels and tyres are fine, so I've just got to do the top side now, just go through all that, just make sure it's all fine and dandy, as they say. Make sure the steering's all tight and whatever, but yeah, so I'll get on and finish this one today, get it cleaned up and serviced and check it out, just make sure everything's okay, just like top side seat and everything, and go from there. So, I'll just open it up. If you haven't seen the first half of this video, this is the Mobie. It's discontinued now. It's not made anymore, and it featured 2 batteries, one in the front, one in the rear, spare battery, and they're expensive batteries to give away with a scooter, like I said in the first video, but I guess it gave you like 24 miles of range, I guess. But I also fixed this top console, which this battery's now dead. I'm going to have to plug it in and charge it up. I left it switched on, but I've replaced the dial, the power gauge on the top, because that was failed, that had broken, so I've replaced that, so that's fixed. So all the broken bits that I could see, or the bits that to make the scooter go, have been fixed, transaxle and that. So it's just going to be cosmetic and just checking everything, like the seat bolts are missing underneath. Got 2 of those to replace. So yeah, let's get into it. Right, I'm back with the little Mobie. Replaced the seat bolts under there. So we've got all the seat bolts attached there. I've actually put a new battery, not a new one, but I've reconditioned the battery. What I've done is took the it was broken, so I actually sewed a new strap on it so you can get the battery out. And so that's 2 batteries in it now, and there's your working battery. I've also done something to the top console. I've got the horn working. I actually finished this video and never really showed you any of the bits that I'd done to it at the end. I just sort of put it all back together and then put it on the floor, but the horn wasn't working on it. But I've now got that working. I've actually spent about 4 hours redoing the circuit board inside to get the horn working, but that works now, and the power gauge works. 2 batteries, and I actually stitched this together, made a strap for it because it was supposed to be like that. It's missing, but actually got a bad battery that was dead, had the hooks but no strap, so I put a new strap on it, so at least you can use both batteries, but you can only charge one at a time as long as it's there, unless you've got the charging cradle to put in there. But yeah, everything else works on it now. Just got a few dings on it, like the seat back there, but yeah, it's all done. So I thought I'd just add this to the video instead of just going straight to the end and saying the horn didn't work, but it does. So yeah, so now I can end the video. So that's all I've done to it, just cleaned it up, new batteries, sorted out a few bits and bobs on it, and it's good to go. So now we can end the video. I finished my little Mobie project, so as you can see, I changed that out, give it a clean up, give it good service. It's just a little project for me, so yeah, everything's okay with it. I might sell it, I don't know. Let's see if somebody needs something that's light and foldable. It might be an option for them, but yeah, it turned out okay. And at least I've got a heads up on how to work on one of these now. It's kind of a strange folding mechanism with a little press button thing there, and then you pull up on the handle in the middle and it locks together. Of course, you drop your tiller down, very similar to the Solax, the transformer, but of course it's manual. But yeah, so if you like these kind of videos, like, share, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. But for this one, I kind of cut it short at the end of the video. But so yeah, till next time, give us that thumbs up, we appreciate it, and that subscribe. Take care, bye now.